Morning. So it's now the no, not the morning after the night before, the second morning after the night before. So back in dear old Blighty. Finally managed to get to more than sort of nodding dog sleep, which is good because obviously I look like I've had lots of sleep. So if you bothered to see any of my videos previously, you'll know that I don't do postscripts, and I certainly wouldn't bother with something that is a failure, where I haven't done the thing that I set out to do. But this one's a little different, or a little odd. So this is in part an attempt for me to try and to rationalise what's happened, learn from what's happened, improve from what's happened, because unfortunately that's another sodding race that I'm going to have to go back and do again. So really, when's a race finish not a race finish? I know the obvious answer to that is, well, did you cross the finish line or not? But when, for me anyway, so when you've been going for sort of a very long time, and you get a feel for a race, and you know where you are, and you know how you're doing time-wise, there can become a point when you know you've got it, and although there's an awful lot of work left to do, and it's going to be hard, and there'll be times where you think, no, I can't, and all that kind of stuff, actually there'll be a point where you go, you know, I knew then. And I think, do you know what, I what's really bizarre is that thanks to me and the training program that I had this time, despite all the ups and downs, and despite feeling quite ill on the first night, and it being a long way, I always felt that I had it, which is a good thing, because it's great to feel confident about the thing that you're trying to do, rather than worrying about it. And okay, so I was various stages sort of inside the cut-off time, you know, 3 hours to 10 hours to 15 hours, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But actually none of that mattered, because I felt confident in me and my body. So where that's become a little difficult now is that I didn't finish. And I didn't finish only 8k. So having done 250 odd k, I didn't finish by 8 kilometres, or stopped with 8 kilometres to go, whichever way you look at it. And we will never really know, will we? Because not all the data's recorded and all that kind of stuff. But interestingly enough, there is another video that I made in that last night that I just wasn't going to post because it's very personal and sort of, you know, maybe on one level slightly scary as to not being with it. But I will. So you need to watch this one first and then that one. But I undoubtedly was dehydrated, but then you expect to be dehydrated. I was very, very tired, and you expect to be very, very tired. Combinations thereof, don't know, who'll know. But it sort of turned into sort of some weird, almost film kind of thing where, not quite a Groundhog Day, but something where things are being done to you rather than you being in control, and feeling as though you've been in a scenario or situation or in a physical place before, but knowing I've never been to Gran Canaria before, so how is that possible? Undoubtedly, I think if I have vague recollections now of sort of saying, you know, get something to eat, and didn't. but almost this dreamlike thing, this is me trying to rationalise it, was that I think at the time I believed I'd finished, and that this was like a post-race nightmare loop when you're reliving bits and you're trying to get away from it, but you're so tired that you're stuck in it. And this last section along the beach of 15k or whatever it was always potentially in some respects the hardest and most dull, because it was along the beach. So there was not a lot going to be happening compared with being up in the mountains and straggling up and down stuff. So it was never going to enthrall in quite the same way, I'll put it that way. So I sort of found myself sort of like, you know, is this real kind of thing? And certainly didn't feel like I was in control of it. So when Claude, one of the other runners, found me, I was on the route, but sort of was trying to encourage me to go with him, and I was messing around with my trainers and my socks, and it's almost like trying to fight the dream. So the dream was trying to get me to go on and on and on with this thing that was going to go on and on and on. But actually, if I buggered about with my socks and my trainers for long enough, maybe I'd break the dream. I don't know. Who knows now? Does it really matter? But Claude had the good sense to go, because we'd done a bit of running together before. It's sort of like, this is not him acting normally. Why would anyone be buggering about in this way? So he rang it in, and then that became another situation of being done too. But now knowing that again that was real. So another sort of combination, sort of Spanish, sort of English kind of thing going on in terms of them asking me, because I was convinced at some stage I was on some kind of film set somewhere in the UK, and that people were taking the Michael out of me. I'm not saying it's some bizarre running version of Faulty Towers or something, I don't know, but you know, they'd ask when you last had a drink and all that kind of stuff, and told them, and you know, when did you last eat, blah blah blah, and then sort of then started to sort of, you know, take readings, but was almost in this sort of dreamlike state, had gone a bit mute at that point. So things start getting done to you. So they take, you know, a pulse, and it's sort of like, it's in its 40s. That's low, and in my head I'm shouting, my resting pulse is in its 40s. I'm sat down resting. What do you expect it to be? Duh. I don't have very low blood pressure, but I think that probably worried them slightly more, that my blood pressure was low. Reading was low. And actually, I do remember now that sort of, you know, when they do that pump up thing, that made me feel ill. Whatever that was doing, that made me feel ill. And then the rain arrived, and then it was sort of like, you know, time down on the trolley, rush like mad to get to, I don't know what it, you know, ambulance van, whatever it is, doesn't really matter, does it? And then being rushed to the race finish line to Mitten. So they put 2 lots of 500 mil stuff in me. Interestingly enough, actually, as we were sort of like, they were trying to keep me awake, but actually I'm thinking, but part of what's wrong is that I've been awake for too long. Just let me go to sleep, for crying out loud. And then for some reason, my legs actually feel fine, which is another sort of weird sort of situation I'm in now. So they're a bit swollen, and they look a bit ugly, but because they do anyway. But they've certainly felt a lot worse. And again, come back to it, I felt for me, really good shape. So makes this all a bit more disappointing. But just lying on a hard sort of treatment bed or whatever was causing, and not really being able to move because they blanket you up and the drips going in and all this kind of stuff. And I just want to curl up into a ball really to try and go to sleep. And I certainly need to move my leg from the position they've put it in. And I'm trying to do this without causing too much aggravation. But they put some kind of painkiller in that second bag, and actually that was brilliant. If I'd had that, I'd have been laughing down on the beach. That would have been no problem at all. So I think we're almost done. I don't think there's anything else that I want to say at this point, but yeah, let's put it down to experience and counting your chickens, maybe. So no race is ever finished until you've actually crossed that line. You can be confident about it, but somehow in my adult state, that'd be nice. I haven't had a beer yet. In my adult state, that had all got very, very confused. If there's anything from this that actually, if anyone sees, I know that it's not like I want people to see these either. These are more from my sort of learning experience, to be perfectly honest. But if anyone does come across this, or knows someone who knows someone who knows someone, and then goes, actually they'll be able to give Tim an answer to that, or by all means, just please do get in touch. Actually, because I'd love to learn more about what the hell did or didn't happen, and not how you prevent it, because some of these things will always happen, won't they? But is there something obvious that I'm missing, bar drinking? And by the way, it wasn't that I wasn't drinking, it's just that it didn't feel I was drinking enough. It wasn't like I was. It wasn't like I was thirsty. It wasn't like my mouth and my tongue had swollen up. I've had all that previously. So it's just interesting. So I'll stop there. Watch the final video. So slightly out of sequence chronologically in terms of when they've been recorded, but the final video is of again one I wouldn't probably have done, where I've known something's not right, and I'm in this bizarre sort of, is this real world kind of thing, and I think I've used in that sort of, feel as though things are now being done to me rather than by me. But I think it absolutely captures the confusion that I'm in, and I suppose how do you, when you've got to that point, is it ever possible to cut through some of that noise that you've now got to try and reconcile it? Because I think when I actually got pulled by the medics, there was like 14 hours still of time to do 8k. So surely to God, in that time period, with that such a small distance to go, I could have found a way, couldn't I? But how do you get yourself onto that level playing field to be able to do that? I obviously couldn't, but I'd like to feel that I could in the future. Okay, goodbye. Now to start eating my own body weight every 4 hours for the next week. Excellent. And the odd cup of tea. Bye now.